Good morning, everybody. We're going to continue on here with this reading of An Esoteric Cosmology by Rudolf Steiner. The website I'm using is rsarchive.org. We're on chapter 14, The Logos and Man. In the last lecture, we retraced the past of man, more particularly from the point of view of his form and his body. We will now consider the past as regards his states of consciousness. The following questions often arise before the mind. Is man the only being upon earth who possesses self-consciousness? Or again, what is the relation between the consciousness of man and that of animals, plants, and metals? Have these lower kingdoms of life any consciousness at all? Imagine that a tiny insect crawling on the body of a man could see only his finger. It could have no conception whatever of the organism as a whole, nor of the soul. We ourselves are in exactly the same position as regards the earth and other beings indwelling it. A materialist has no conception of the soul of the earth, and, as a natural result, he is not aware of the existence of his own soul. Similarly, if a tiny insect is unaware of the soul of man, this is because it has no soul with which to perceive. The earth soul is much more sublime than the soul of man, and man's knowing nothing of it. In reality, all beings have consciousness, but man's consciousness is quite different, inasmuch as in our age it is perfectly attuned to the physical world. As well as the waking state, corresponding to the physical world, man passes through other conditions of consciousness. During dreamless sleep, his consciousness lives in the devachanic world. The consciousness of the plant is always devachanic. If a plant suffers, the suffering brings about a change in devachanic consciousness. The animal has astral consciousness, corresponding to the dream life of man. These three states of consciousness are very different. In the physical world, we evolve ideas simply by means of the sense organs and the outer realities with which these organs put us into touch. In the astral world, we perceive the surrounding milieu only in the form of pictures, feeling at the same time as if we were part of them. Why does man, who is conscious in the physical world, feel himself separate from all that is not himself? It is because he receives all his impressions from a milieu which he perceives very distinctly outside his body. In the astral world, on the contrary, we do not perceive by means of the senses, but by the sympathy which makes us penetrate to the heart of everything we encounter. Astral consciousness is not confined within a relatively limited field. In a certain sense, it is liquid, fluidic. In the devachanic world, consciousness is as diffused as a gas might be. There is no resemblance whatever with physical consciousness, into which nothing penetrates except by way of the senses. What was the object of this shutting off of consciousness which followed the stage of imaginative consciousness? If such a shutting off had not taken place, man could never have said, I, of himself. The divine germ could never have penetrated into his being in the course of evolution if it had not been for the crystallization of his physical body. Where then was this divine spirit before the solidification of the earth and of consciousness? Genesis tells us, the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. The divine spirit, the spark of the ego, was still in the astral world. In higher devachan, beyond the fourth degree, referred to in occultism as arupa, without body, where akasha, negative substance, has its rise, there is the home of the consciousness of the minerals. we must try to reach a deep and true understanding of the mineral kingdom and discover our moral link with it. The Rosicrucians in the Middle Ages taught their disciples to revere the chastity of the mineral. Imagine, they said, that while retaining his faculties of thinking and feeling, a man becomes as pure and free from desire as the mineral. He then possesses an infallible power, a spiritual power. If we can say that the spirits of the several minerals are living in Devachan, we can say equally correctly that the spirit of the minerals is like a man who might live only with Devachanic consciousness. In other beings, then, the existence of consciousness must not be denied. Man has traversed all these degrees of consciousness on the descending curve of evolution. Originally, he resembled the minerals, in this sense, that his ego lived in a higher world and guided him from above. But the aim of evolution is to free man from being subject to things, or to being subject to beings endowed with a consciousness higher than his own, and to bear him to a point where he himself is fully conscious in higher worlds. All of these levels of consciousness are contained within man today. 1. The consciousness of the mineral corresponding to deep sleep. 2. The consciousness of the plant, which corresponds to ordinary sleep. 3. Animal consciousness, which corresponds to dream life. 4. Physical objective consciousness, the normal waking state. The two former states are atavistic survivals. 5. A consciousness which repeats the third stage, but retains the acquired quality of objectivity. Images have definite colors and are realized as being quite distinct from the perceiver. The subjective sense of attraction or repulsion vanishes. In this new imaginative consciousness, the faculty of reason that has been acquired in the physical world retains its own powers. Number 6, sleep itself, not the dream, here becomes a conscious state. We do not only behold images, but we enter into the living essence of beings and hear their inner tones. In the physical world, we give names to things, but the names are merely outer appellations. Only man can express his own being from within by saying I, the ineffable name of conscious individuality. By this word, we distinguish our own personality from the rest of the universe. But when we become conscious of the world of sound, each thing communicates its own true name. In clairaudience, we hear the sound which expresses its innermost being and rings forth as a tone in the universe that is distinct from all others. Number 7. One stage further, and deep sleep becomes a conscious state. Description is impossible, for this condition passes beyond the limits of comparison. All that can be said is that it exists. Such are the 7 states of consciousness through which man passes, and he will pass through others too. There is always one central state, with 3 beneath and 3 above. The 3 higher states reproduce, in a higher sense, the 3 lower. A traveler is always at the center of the horizon. Each state of consciousness develops through 7 states of life, and each state of life through 7 states of form. Thus, 7 states of form always constitute one state of life. 7 states of life compose one whole period of planetary evolution, for example, that of our Earth. The 7 states of life culminate in the formation of 7 kingdoms, of which 4 are actually visible: the mineral, plant, animal, and human kingdoms. In each state of consciousness, therefore, man passes through 7 times 7 states of form, This brings us to 7 times 7 times 7. Metamorphoses, in parentheses, the number 343. If we could envisage in one single tableau the 343 states of form, we should have a picture of the third logos. If we could envisage the 49 states of life, we should have a picture of the second logos. If we could envisage the 7 states of consciousness, we should have a conception of the first logos. Evolution consists in the mutual interaction of all these 7 forms. In order to pass from one form to the other, a new spirit is necessary. The action of the Holy Spirit, in parentheses. In order to pass from one state of life to another, a new power is necessary. The action of the Son, in parentheses, S-O-N. In order to pass from one state of consciousness to another, a new consciousness is necessary. The action of the Father, in parentheses. Christ Jesus brought a new state of life and was, in very truth, the Word made flesh. With the coming of the Christ, a new force entered into the world, preparing a new earth in a new relationship with the heavens. That was chapter 14. The book is An Esoteric Cosmology by Rudolf Steiner. And the website is rsarchive.org. That is the website I'm using for this particular reading. And that was a pretty short chapter, so let me address a couple things here. Subscriber count keeps going up. That's awesome. Keep liking, subscribing, and sharing if you know people who would like this material and other materials like it. I did have a request for the next book to read on here. I think somebody made the comment about The Occult Anatomy of Man by Manly P. Hall, which, by the way, is one of my favorites, and it's a really good book. It's worth its weight in gold. I think right now, though, I'm going to hold off on reading that one because there are other versions of that one out there. There's a channel, I think the guy's name is Josh Reeves. He's got a version of it out there. I actually dropped the link in the comment section to whoever it was that commented that book. I did drop the link to his version of it because I don't know if I'm going to get to that one right away. I want to kind of go through ones that are not online yet, or ones that I don't feel there's a good version of online. And then maybe after I get through all those, I'll come back and then maybe do, another version of some of the ones that I have found online. But right now I want to stick to ones that I have not been able to find online so I can kind of contribute to the accessibility of some of this esoteric material that I haven't been able to find online. So that's kind of what my goal is here. And we're kind of fast approaching 100 subscribers, which is pretty cool. I had said earlier that I'll probably give away a book once we hit the 100 subscriber mark. So I need to figure out which one of those I'm going to give away and how exactly I'm going to do that as well. But anyway, that's about it for now. Thank you very much for listening. I'll have another chapter probably up later on today at some point. And that's all for now, guys. Thanks again for tuning in. Like, subscribe, share. I'd like to grow this community if we can, because I think esoterics is just an area where people, they need to know this stuff. It needs to be studied. As Alvin Boyd Kuhn once predicted, it is the ancient knowledge and the ancient understandings of these scriptures and these esoteric concepts which is going to drag humanity out of this crazy quagmire that we found ourselves in. We've been manipulated for a long time, and a lot of these concepts have been hidden from us. And as old ABK Alvin Boyd Kuhn says, we're still living in the shadow of the 3rd century where they foisted this materialistic view of what the scriptures mean, this strictly historical view, and it's so much deeper than that. And we gotta bring this information out. Excuse me. All right. Well, I'm not going to drag it on any longer. Thanks again for listening. Like, subscribe, share, do all that good stuff if you feel the need to. And thanks again. We'll talk to you later.